The ALA, the American Library Association rules and policies are not legal in our libraries unless they are voted upon and accepted as policy. So if we need to know what policy they're using, because they have, we already found out the broken pieces where there weren't standards for selection, there wasn't standards, accepted, the deal.
Yeah.
So are they following the ALA? And if they are, when was that voted upon?
Does anyone know, Commissioner, do you know, Commissioner Palmer, do you know about that?
I haven't found anything that says that we're following the ALA. However, they do attach that to their book development policy and such, the Library Bill of Rights. They are influenced by it. I do not think our libraries are members of the ALA. The Oak Ridge Library is, and I think they use that librarian as a resource, but they are heavily influenced by the ALA. But I have not found anything in any of the past minutes that I've looked at that they have adopted those policies.
That's good.
Officially. So it is something to keep in mind. I think that our library board somehow kind of got messed up over the years, maybe right before COVID, and they need to be educated. They need to know what their responsibilities are, what the law is, what the policies and procedures, and I think somewhere in the last few years they've kind of gotten off track. So I think that's part of what our law director is trying to do, is to say we need to address these policies, but also trying to let them know that these laws do exist and they have got to follow the law.
And the ALA is very specific, that anything that they do as policy is not legal unless it's voted upon and accepted as policy at the county or city level for libraries. So they literally have it written there, like in other words, they really shouldn't do it, but, it's interesting.
Our libraries are influenced by the ALA more than they are the community and the community standards, and we've got to change that, shift that.
Yes,
that
they
thought
don't
process.
represent our community, yeah.
Right, I'm gonna ask Michael Perham to come on up here, and Commissioner Isbell has something to offer.
Well, what I want to talk about is what she says, community standards. The only, county-owned library is in Bryceville, which is District 4. And of course, Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Palmer's been there, and Commissioner Val. We don't have any of that there. Not one, and she won't like it. So that's what this is about, this community standard, and getting the right people on the library board. And it takes care of itself, because in the newspaper, you always see, Tommy Mariner has said 65% of people in Anderson County is supportive of that. That's incorrect. He took those numbers from that form that we had at the Clinton Recreation Center, and that was the people that smoked, 65%. But 90% of the people that was there, they followed the rules. If somebody said what they felt in front of them, they didn't go up and repeat it. And they didn't clap and jeer and yell. I mean, they were very respected, but that's the type of people that was there. So those are false numbers when you read that. And I can tell you, I've served just like all commissioners, we serve all of Anderson County. There's not 65%.
No, honestly,
I
think there's
wanted to
about
clarify
25%.
something from that last library board meeting too. One of the librarians said that these books were purchased by the librarian in Rocky Top that had died. She died of COVID. These books were not published until 2019 and 2021. So there was no way that the one for sure, she died before it was even published. So, I don't know how they go about all of that, but these have not been, they will tell you they've been in the library for a long time. They've not even been published that long. So things kind of just got real fuzzy and muddy right before COVID hit, about 2019 or so, with the library board, with the books, with all of that.
I think I got rid of at the last library board meeting was when the librarian from Rocky Top said she goes to a nursing home and she reads a love story a romantic love story to the old people. But there are some parts in that she could not read because she blushed, and it was embarrassing for her to read them. And I'm thinking, sitting there thinking to myself, you won't read a love story to senior citizens who could probably write that love story, but you have these books for our children to see.
It is part of a bigger national problem.
Yes.
It's
The,
Yeah.
let's hear from
LGBT.
We got him up on speed.
Thank you, Myra.
Those of you who don't know Michael Terhadon, he's one of our loyal Republicans.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Speak up. Speak up. Good evening, everybody. The letter is as follows. In response to Sheriff Barker's recent review of Gender Queer, a memoir, and Let's Talk About It, two of 17 books at the center of an explosive controversy that began in late February, the Oak Ridger, April 19th, 2023 edition, published an article by Anila Yoganathan titled, Law Doesn't Support Books, Challenge. I disagree. I thank Sheriff Barker for his time and effort, and especially for his letter to the Anderson County Commission, which states that he personally does not approve of these books and thinks they're political, ideological, and inappropriate for minors. However, I disagree with his assessment that these books are not in violation of the law based on the 2022 Tennessee Code, Title 39, as summarized below. TCA Section 3917-911 states that unless accompanied by the person's parent or legal guardian, or by an adult with a written permission of the parent or legal guardian, it is unlawful for any person to knowingly make available to a minor any picture, photograph, drawing, or similar visual representation or image of a person or portion of the human body that depicts nudity, sexual conduct, excess violence, or any book or printed matter which contains explicit and detailed verbal descriptions or narrative accounts of sexual excitement, sexual conduct, or excess violence, and that is harmful to minors. TCA Section 3917-901 states harmful to minors means that quality of any description or representation in whatever form of nudity, sexual excitement, sexual conduct, or excess violence, when the matter would be found by the average person applying contemporary community standards to appeal predominantly to the prurient, shameful, or morbid interests of minors, and is patently offensive to prevailing standards in the adult community as a whole, with respect to what is suitable for minors, and taken as a whole, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for minors. Gender Queer and Let's Talk About It contain graphic, non-essential, obscene drawings of nudes, masturbation, intercourse, oral sex, sodomy, gay and lesbian sex, sexting, and sex toys. Many of these drawings have no artistic, medical, or educational purpose. Some merely stir up images in the mind which suggest, excite, and promote sexual experimentation. Some of the written content in these books describes the human body and sexuality as crude, vulgar, and profane. Much of the content seems to focus on self, pleasure, hypersexualization, narcissism, anger, contempt, rebellion, and nihilism, qualities that inhibit love, respect, discipline, and maturity. The very qualities that a minor needs to learn in order to thrive and grow up into a caring, happy, responsible, and productive adult. Queer was published in 2019. According to the American Library Association, it was the most challenged book for obscene content in the United States in 2021 and 2022. Mia Co GOP is the author. Per Wikipedia, she is a comic book cartoonist and writer. She identifies as a non-binary asexual. Let's Talk About It was published in 2021. Rika Mona, the primary author, is a comic book illustrator and a speaker. Her main focus is queer culture and erotica. Per her website, she identifies as a cisgender white married queer lady. Anderson County is Bible Belt country. As a whole, we're a moral and conservative people with traditional middle-class values. It is highly improbable that the average person in this community would not find these books and some of the other books in question to be in flagrant violation of the law and harmful to minors. Consequently, our leaders, librarians, need to adhere to the laws of our state and the prevailing standards of our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for writing that and putting it in the paper. Shane?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I know we've been here for a while, and I don't take up too much time, but just to give everybody a little bit of history of how the sheriff even wound up with this investigation. I want to thank Commissioner Allen for bringing the issue to County Commission's attention. We thought the first 3 books that were the little Grandpa's Cabin and all that, I was naive enough to think once all that was settled, the whole issue was settled. Had no clue these other books were in our public library. So thank you to Commissioner Allen and whomever did the research on that to bring that to Commission's attention. The night that was brought to Commission's attention, just about every commissioner up there gasped when they saw the illustrations from the books. Every one of us gasped. And when we started getting the feedback from the librarians and from members of the library board that this wasn't the biggest issue as we thought our gasps were represented, some of us began thinking, well, we need to figure out what we're going to do next. We were informed by our law director that the books may possibly violate Tennessee Code Annotated, which is a criminal law that was quoted, that Jack has quoted many, many times. So my thought was, well, if that's the case and it actually breaks the law, I'm not worried about the library's opinion on it. Let's get an investigation going. Mayor Frank agreed with us. Myself, Commissioner Palmer, Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Isabel, and Mayor Frank, and I give them kudos for it as well. We all signed a letter that said, Sheriff, the law may be broken in our libraries. Please investigate this. All right. The reason we did that was because, and I don't care to tell it, and if General Park was standing here, I'd tell it while he was standing right here beside me. We had had a conversation with the District Attorney General who said, I can't give a legal opinion on something unless I have an investigation, a case brought in front of me. And Jack knows it's kind of hard to get a DA to tell you whether something's illegal or not until he has something that he can review, right? So having the sheriff investigate covered all the bases. Here's where we got sidetracked. Our law director, while reviewing all this stuff, himself thought, this might be breaking the law. The law director requested General Clark to review the information as well before the sheriff presented his findings to General Clark. General Clark wrote a letter. I can send anybody a copy of the letter that wants it. Fred Astaire and Danny Kay would be very, very impressed with the dancing that went on in the letter. And again, General Clark was standing here, I say it to his face. The first paragraph says, I've not reviewed this information because a criminal case has not been brought in front of me. The last paragraph says, I doubt if I could win a case if I went to trial with it. So I don't know how you can start off by saying I have reviewed the information, but I can't win a case at trial. So the sheriff, bless his heart, was behind the 8 ball from the beginning of this whole investigation, knowing that our district attorney general had already written in a letter that he didn't feel he could win the case. So although I believe criminal charges may have also could have been filed, I can't criticize the sheriff for being a cop for all these years, and I know Jack's opinion on it. I get where Jack's coming from. You put all that together, and it was a bad situation either way you go. However, Jack agrees with me on one thing, and I set it up, Bryce, and I think Jack said it after that. Just because criminal charges may or may not be filed doesn't mean a civil lawsuit cannot be filed. And when I said that to the librarians that night at Bryce, some of them took that as a threat. They apparently take a lot of things as threats, but that certainly was not my intent. Jack was there, Tim was there, we never meant that as an intent. We're trying to let them know if you don't take some kind of action to change your policies, a parent could possibly sue you. They're under the impression they're economists, and they have no liability, they have no responsibility serving on this library board or working in the libraries. A county employee protects them in some instances. It makes them more liable than a lot of others. And that's what we as a county body also want to try to avoid, the liability on the taxpayers. If a parent were to sue us saying, you allowed this smut in your library and harmed my child, you knew about it, you didn't do anything about it, that's called deliberate indifference. Jack's heard that term before. And we could be held liable for that, and then that's your tax dollars that are gonna be spent to pay out a lawsuit if we lose. So I want to commend all the commissioners, all of you all the people that did the research, everybody who has stood with us and not backed down and not sat down and not said, yeah, we don't agree with it, but we'll let somebody else fight that fight.
No.
We've heard that, I don't know how many times. Oh, I wouldn't have it in my house, but let's let the library board do their job. All that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And we can't call evil good. That's the problem that we've gotten into in this country already. We've let evil be called good, and nobody has stood up to try to stand against that. So I'm proud to be part of a party who's willing to still, whether they get everything they want or not, they're still willing to stand up and fight against this. I'm proud to be here with y'all tonight. But I just want to get y'all to know that that's where we came from with the sheriff and the DA and everything. And hopefully it's not over. Hopefully we're going to get some of the rules changed, and we're going to be able to protect our kids a lot more than what they're protected now.
Just in defense of the sheriff, he got caught in between our Tennessee code and what the Supreme Court is calling the Miller test, which waters the thing down, just like it did Roe v. Wade, that opened a big door for anything that you couldn't prove anything to be obscene. I mean, that Miller test is so nothing. It's just nothing. It has no substance to it, and it prevents anything from being called obscene just about. And so the sheriff he quoted both of those issues, and I see him caught in that tension between the Supreme Court, which hopefully will overturn that Miller test in the next year or two. Jack?
Just as an addendum to what you're saying about Attorney General Dave Clark, 2 weeks ago, I went to have about an hour-long meeting with him, and he also provided me with a copy of that letter, and he stated the same thing. I can't make a decision until I have the facts before me, which I perfectly understand. But when we got down to the end of it, he told me this. He says, I can't say exact, but here's what I will tell you. If I was a defense attorney, I would say this doesn't pass the Miller test. But he says, as a prosecuting attorney, I would argue that it is obscenity and that it would pass the Miller test. Okay? Now, if you read that letter closely, there are 2 sentences in that letter, in the body of that letter. One says, I'm paraphrasing, allowing minors access to these books may subject you to a criminal charge. Another sentence says, if you don't take steps to restrict access of minors to this material, for whatever reason, you may be subject to criminal prosecution. It's in there. And those are two warning sentences in the midst of all what he's saying. They must and they will do something, or they can be prosecuted. And you weren't there last Thursday, and I told them, I laid it out for them. I said, think about the ramifications of this. If you don't do something in the future, a minor can walk in, check a book out, have an eyewitness on videotape, go out, make a criminal complaint to the local police department, hand in the book, get 2 verbal statements as to what happened, and a videotape of you, the librarian, and in this book. I said, can children go into any store here in the county and buy Playboy magazine? No. Can they go in an adult bookstore and buy the materials in an adult bookstore? No. Why? Because they're not adults. So why does it make you think the librarian can provide the same exact material, or worse, to a minor? Okay, I said, you all are putting yourself in a position to get arrested. How are you going to like it when your name's in the paper? How are you going to like it when the front page article says, oh, Anderson County Librarians are arrested for providing porn to children? Think about who's going to defend you. Is the county attorney going to defend you? Are they going to pay your fine? The county going to pay your fine? Is the county going to provide somebody to spend time for you in jail? I said, you can get up to 11 months, 29 days in jail and up to a $2,500 fine. You better think about the ramifications of this. Of course, they got a little upset about that because I'm threatening them with arrest. No, I'm warning them over and over. I'm giving them fair warning.
Yeah.
This is coming, and you need to do something. So that's where I stand, and I'm not backing down.
Thank you, Jack. One of the ways that you can stand your ground is to write letters. Thank you, Michael, for hiding for that letter. I still tell people to write letters. You can send a letter to all of us on the commission. Send me a letter, and I'll put it in our email. But, think about writing a letter to the commissioners, because there are commissioners that they're counting wrong. They really do think that 65% of the people want this stuff in the library. And they tell me that, so you have to, write letters. It doesn't have to be anything long or elaborate, but just let your voice be heard by the commissioners. That's one way of being the point of contact. That we're still here, we're not going away, and we're going to do things in parallel. We're going to, go after the board members, and we're going to remove the books. But do things in parallel. Don't do things, sequentially. But we're going to go on the board. We're going to find ways to legally remove the books, and we're going to write letters too. So do things in parallel.
I have one thing I just want to say, if that's okay, Anthony?
Yeah.
Doing it at the county level is great,
Yeah.
but we still have one other issue. We have Tennessee Reads, where they can download those books as well. So, how are we gonna,
That's the
the state,
state,
yeah.
Secretary of State.
Could you ask about that? I'll get to you in just a second, Lucas. So last Friday, Monty Fritz, the state representative for Rome County, had a town hall meeting and invited the Secretary of State, Trey Hargett, and Mark Goins, the state election commissioner. So Jack and I met. And the state, Trey Hargett, Jack asked him, I wanted to show you the video because I did get the video of it, but I couldn't get it all to load up properly. Jack asked him about the libraries, and he said he is working to make policy changes, and he's aware of the Tennessee Reads thing, and he said, the way I feel about it, if I can't put it on my living room coffee table, and I wouldn't want my family to find it on my bedside table, then it should not be in our library.
So I have a question. So the Tennessee Reads and what you guys are doing with the county libraries are connected? Are connected? Can it be connected?
Tennessee Reads is a statewide online book.
But it's part of the library system?
You're gonna have a
Okay,
library
okay.
card.
So the reason why I asked that is because I am working on getting the convention of states as a national entity to take a position on this nationally, as well as to give the state entity that sort of, position too, so then they can go to the state legislatures as well as the governor as an organization, as opposed to individuals with regards to this thing too. So, so hopefully I can get up the information up there and tie it together, and hopefully I can get that sort of organization to move this thing forward so that we can get a state entity behind it.
Great. We do need to wrap up here in a minute, so let's say we're down to the last 5 minutes, and Lucas has something to say, and then we'll just finish our 5 minutes. If anybody else has anything else.
You know, whenever Anthony was talking about the letters, I wrote letters to all of our county commissioners, and, you know, I had not mentioned names, but some of them think they're gonna be a smart aleck to me, and so I think that, a good thing to remind these people is that, we pay their salary. Taxpayers, they work for us, so like, please, I encourage you to remind them that, hey, I'm your boss, pretty much, because that's what.
Are you calling for use?
But yeah, I mean, just something, just to remember, like, and whenever you're writing letters and everything, just remember they work for us, so pretty much we pay for our opinions, so I want to remind everybody of that.
That's right.
Here you go.
Do you all have any comments? We have some new people here tonight, several, but some of them are, Ken and Betsy Grace, they live in Oakwood, we've known them for a long time. Do you all have any comments you want to make on this?
Sounds like a lot of people are putting some good work in a good way. So,
That's true.
appreciate it.
What about you, Ken? Have any comments?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? And we Michael, do you want to introduce him and the lady who left? You know the lady who left too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, introduce them if you don't mind.
Well, that was our neighbor Mary Kiesling.
I think it's easy.
And this is Clint, what, I call her last name? Nickel. Nickel. Thank you, my wife just told me that. Clint Nichols, a young man that was from a wonderful family in our church, and we finally got him here tonight. Very, with a very good head on his shoulders.
That's right.
He's the
Thank you for
head of the
being
young
here.
Republican, go through.
Do you have anything you want to comment?
I'm very happy to be here. It's very nice to see so many people motivated. And the one thing that I think is well worth saying is believe that you're fighting the cause. Don't worry about being condemned, because when you're truly fighting for the right thing, there's nothing that's worth standing against.
Thank you. Everyone, we have a motion to adjourn. And Lucas will give a PS.
And nothing to do with my breakups, but in our group, my vice chair resigned, and so I just want to inform everybody that I appointed Lindsay Smith as my new vice chair to the Young Republicans. She's been doing a great job, and with her help, we were finally able to get our bank account started, so we have a really good amount, so if you ever get a chance to hear, just tell her thanks for helping out with our group, because it was really needed, so that's all my report.
Okay, then the meeting's adjourned, and thank you all for coming out.
Thank you guys.
So, parents should be all Every soccer field, every football field, baseball field, I'll sit at the table now. Say, here, and have a petition for them to take mine.